the defensive end market is heating up. And we know the Niners are in the market for one because Chase Young, Randy Gregory, Cleveland Farrell, all free agents. So the Niners could bring back any one of them, or they could get someone a lot better. We know Danielle Hunter's a free agent, but on the trade market and potentially getting cut soon, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, also on the trade market, Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick, big time names.
Right.
What do you think the Niners should do here?
I think what they should do is take a look at Danielle Hunter and ask if they can afford to sign him. 3 years, $60 million. Can they make that work after factoring in what Purdy is going to get paid?
Yeah,
that's going to be a big deal. After that, though, trading for somebody, you're better off waiting until free agency hits. Force them to give the player up so that you don't have to give up any draft capital. Joey Bosa has only played 9 games in 2 years. Khalil Mack is productive, but he's 33, so that's a risk. So how long of a contract would Mack want? What would the Niners be comfortable doing there? Hassan Reddick, I think he'd be too small for what the Niners want to do. Sweat's a nice player, but I think that he's probably priced out of what the Niners would be able to do in terms of what they'd be willing to give and what they'd be willing to pay. I think he's kind of out of their reach a little bit. So
yeah, with Hassan Reddick,
Hunter makes the most sense, but we'll see what happens with the Eagles.
Sure. Would Hassan Reddick really fit the Niners wide nine? Could he set the edge in the Niners wide nine defense?
I don't think so. I think he's too small to do that. And it's
Agree.
not really what he could get done.
Plus, that being said, they did go after D Ford, who was not great.
And D Ford worked out when he was healthy, but how often was that? Not often enough.
So let's go back to the Chargers guys. Those two are interesting, Bosa and Mack, because it looks like the Chargers might cut one or both of them. I mean,
the
trading for Mack seems like a no-go. The Niners don't have enough cap space right now. But if either guy gets cut, they could offer a multi-year contract that's backloaded with the signing bonus and make it work now and in the future.
Yeah, and there's a reporter covering the Chargers who says that I wouldn't rule it out when he was asked about Joey Bosa to the Niners. And so there's someone within that reporting community who thinks it's possible. But in terms of doing a move now, I don't think it is because Mack makes too much. And Bosa, you're likely waiting for him to get cut. There's no need to give picks when chances are they're going to cut him in a couple days anyway. But the question becomes, what are you going to get from Joey Bosa? If he's healthy, great. But how often is that?
Yeah, that's the thing. Let's say both Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack get cut. And although, think that's going to happen? Both of them?
Probably not. They would want to try to restructure with Mack or do something. But it's possible that they end up leaving both of them. It depends on what Harbaugh wants to do.
Which defensive end would you prefer the Niners to go after, Mack or Joey Bosa?
Mack. I don't trust Joey Bosa to stay healthy. I don't want him.
Hey, he's like 4 years younger than Khalil Mack, but it seems like he's older. He really hasn't been that good the last couple of years, whereas Mack hasn't missed a game in years, and he just put up 17.5 sacks this past season. So, yeah, he's still that guy.
Right. So I would, but it's a question of what does Mack want? And I would think that he's going to price himself out of the range of what the Niners would be willing to pay.
Well, how about this, though? Let's say the Niners, instead of – I'm not that good at the cap stuff. But instead of waiting for or hoping that Khalil Mack gets cut and then competing with other teams, why don't you just trade for Mack and then give him an extension?
You could, but then do you want to give an extension to a 33-year-old player?
Okay.
How many years?
Let's say
the contract negotiation gets tough is what I'm saying.
It does. But I'm just trying to play it out in my mind. If he were to get cut and the Niners would offer him, what, a 2 or 3 year deal anyway? Probably. Let's say they offer him a 3-year deal. So you could give him an extension for 2 more years. Try to convert.
We're out in the 3rd year so that you wouldn't necessarily pay the 3rd. That's doable.
It might be doable. I don't know.
Depends on what the Chargers would be asking for it, and they want a 5th-round pick, a 4th-round pick. As long as it's day 3, okay.
Right.
But otherwise, no.
It'd be worth it, I think, to trade a day 3 pick to make sure that you get Khalil Mack. Because the thing about trading for Khalil Mack, yeah, he is older, but he's a Hall of Fame player. And it doesn't look like he's declining. I mean, maybe a little bit, but this would be, you could argue this would make them the Super Bowl team that they've been trying to beat. Khalil Mack on this team would be crazy.
Yeah, and they tried to trade for him back in 2018 or whatever it was.
They did.
Where they tried to, and with good reason, that Mack at the time was the best defensive end in the league. And now he's proven that while he's fallen off some, he hasn't fallen off a lot. He's still a great player. And so it's just, is what you can get done in terms of a contract agreement with Mack something that the Niners can work with going forward, given that they have all these other things they got to take care of in terms of extending Ayuk, extending Purdy, getting Juwan Jennings re-signed, et cetera. How do you fit all that in, plus dealing with the contracts that they've already got in the books? It's tough to do. It's you got to thread the needle on all that.
I mean, it seems irresponsible, really, to go after another really, really, really expensive defensive lineman. But it's what the Niners do. I'm not advocating for it. But these are the 49ers, and they spare no expense on the defensive line. They have to have game changers at all four spots, unless otherwise it's just there's no point in even playing the game.
Yeah, apparently, according to them anyway.
Which is so funny because on the offensive line, they just have to have guys who are good enough, except at left tackle. On D-line, that's not good enough.
D-line, it's got to be gold-plated. Yeah,
got to be.
Come on now. There comes a point when you have to say, how much is too much in investing in one position group on a team?
Right.
But according to the rumors, Tim Kawakami has reported that they're looking to take a big swing at the top of the free agent market, which lends itself to that's got to be an edge. So Hunter, Josh Allen, Brian Burns, or the guy that I want, Jonathan Greenard from Houston, because he's a 3-down edge, and a guy that's top 10 against the run and top 10 pass rush win rate. That's who I would target. But the Niners deal in names. They want to get the name. And so Greenard wouldn't fit that requirement.
Sure. Although he definitely fits their scheme, and he just played well for D'Amico Ryans. The thing about the Niners, you could argue that they have to make a big move. Not necessarily for a big name, but a big move because I think the Lions will. And they're right there with the Niners. And I think the Rams will too. And they're not far off either. So if the Niners just think they can stand pat and sort of work around the edges, they might get passed up by these teams who are younger than them and improve
and have a lot more cap room. Right. Detroit's got $50 million in cap room, and they've got one of the best drafting GMs in the league in Brad Holmes.
Yeah,
they're going to leapfrog unless you make a corresponding move to compete. Detroit is in on Snead. They're in on the top free agent edges. They're in on Mack. They're going to make an impact move. They know where they're weak, and they'll address it. So the Niners have to do something in kind. What that is, I don't know. My choice would be Greenard, but if I had to predict, and then I gave Jesse grief about this, but he may end up being right. Daniil Hunter.
Well, Matt McEwen says Nick wants Joey, and Joey wants to play with Nick. Joey should take a pay cut.
Yeah, that's not how the Bosas work.
It's not how they work. I'll take less money so I can play with my brother. No, sorry.
No,
I don't know about that. One of them wouldn't be able to wear number 97. I don't know.
Clinging to hope. Anything you can find to say no, Joey.
So Nick Bosa's the GM now?
Yeah, that would be the case. But then why would Joey Bosa go to a team with Brandon Staley, who he hates?
Yeah,
it's thorny.
I just go get Khalil Mack. Why mess around? This is a position you want. Just get. You tried to trade for him 5 years ago. You had the deal. He's still great.
Yeah, well, and the key with Khalil Mack is you know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah.
You know that you're going to get a productive guy that doesn't get injured, that you know exactly what he does, and you can count on it. As opposed to Joey Bosa in his 9 games, or as opposed to Drake Jackson and box of chocolates. It's just the draft, you're not sure what you're going to get at edge. And there are some great talents there, but will they be great pros? We don't know.
I mean, he was better than
keep throwing
Nick
picks
Bosa.
at that. Yeah, I don't know.
He was better than Bosa last year. Nick Bosa.
Right.
Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
Why not?
Mack had an incredible season. 33
if you're gonna make a big swing
at that level is really impressive. And it also shows his commitment. Yeah.
You're right. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no worries.
I was going to say, if you're going to make a big swing at this position, forget Josh Sweat.
Josh Sweat's a mid guy.
Don't get a mid guy. Either draft a guy or go get Khalil Mack.
Swing away.
Swing
If
away.
you're going to do this, go get the player that you know you can count on. Because that's always been the issue is that you get this guy and he gets hurt. Okay, so based on the D Ford experience, why are you even talking about Joey Bosa?
Thank you. That's the discussion I wanted to have. No, with Joey Bosa. No.
Yeah.
Injury guy. No. It's Mac. And with Reddick, I don't know. He might be a little too small. I mean, you could say maybe he could have he could play in this system like D4 did, maybe. But that's only if you don't get Mac. Go get Mac. Because you know the thing about him, he's great at everything.
Yeah, he's a complete player, and that's something you need.
He's a future Hall.
And that's why I like Greenard, is that he's a complete player too. He's a guy that can stop the run and get after the passer.
And he's younger.
And that's what they need. They need that kind of a player. A designated pass rusher doesn't solve one of the biggest issues on this team, setting the edge against the run.
They had those guys last year, and it didn't work. That's what Chase Young is. If you want to get a designated pass rusher, just bring back Chase.
Right. But there's no point in that.
Matt McEwen, thanks for being a member for 7 months. Matt McEwen, again, if the Niners go in interior, I think Niners go in interior offensive line in the draft, center, I believe. We're going to talk about where they're going in round 1 in a minute. Matt McEwen, again, not advocating for Joey, just saying what the Niners think. Well, I think that's what Nick thinks. But we know John Lynch tried very hard to trade for Khalil Mack once upon a time. They might feel one Bosa's enough. It's hard being in business with the Bosas.
Yeah. Do you really want to go double down on the Bosas?